So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at how the world is going to transform because of what's happening in the Soviet moves, because of this war in Iraq. Okay, right. So basically, we're in a new world because our world today is built entirely on access to cheap petroleum products, cheap energy, right? Why are you allowed to be in school learning from me rather than the fields farming? Because of energy, right? Because of oil from the Middle East. Your computer is based on what? Petroleum. This camera that's filming me is based on what? Petroleum. This pen, petroleum. This clothing, petroleum. The medicine you eat, petroleum. The food that you eat comes from fertilizers, which is based also on petroleum. So basically, everything in this room, everything in the world is based on cheap petroleum. The entire global economy, the main foundation is cheap petroleum. So what happens in a world where petroleum is already cheap? Well, now you need a massive rebalancing in the world, okay? The other thing about the world is, this is the GCC countries, okay? The Middle East countries. And as you can see, this is really important to see is, around the year 2005, they started to have massive account surplus, meaning they were selling so much oil, they couldn't really spend all their money. Do you guys know why? Why was this happening? What happened in 2005, 2004 that made these countries extremely wealthy? All right, China, okay? Think about it. What's China doing? Well, China in the 80s and 90s was putting factories, right? But then China itself built this account surplus, so now China wants to develop its industrial base, right? And how do you do that? By importing oil from the GCC, right? And that's why we have these skyscrapers, these malls, these roads, okay? Because China was able to import all this cheap oil from the GCC. And then the GCC would take this money, okay? And then invest it back into the American stock market. But not just that, but they would invest it in Africa. They would invest it in infrastructure. So for the longest time, the Chinese economy and the GCC are the two main pillars of the entire global economy. Okay? And what this means is that if the GCC no longer is able to export oil, this is going to have a major impact on China. And together, the two are going to have a major impact on the global economy. Okay? Basically, the global economy is dead. Go ahead. Okay, another thing that you may not be aware of is today, flying around the world, it's very, very simple to do. If you want it, what we can do now is get our mobiles out, go to the website, and look at where we're going to fly to, and then book that flight for tonight. Pay using a credit card, take a taxi to the airport, get on a flight, and we're there the next morning. That's really, really impressive. Guess what, guys? You couldn't do this 20 years ago, okay? The technology was around, but it was not widely available. Now, look at this, where the entire world is interconnected, okay? This is a pretty stark chart where in 1950, it was considered a tremendous luxury to fly. You had to be a millionaire, basically, to want to fly for vacation, okay? Everyone else just drove their car. Now, it's like anyone can drive. And again, this happened just in the past, basically, 30, 40 years. And this, of course, is because Pax Americana, where Pax Americana will guarantee there's no conflict in the world, and therefore, planes can just fly around. Otherwise, you'd be shut down. Okay. Right. Well, this world is coming to an end. In the future, flights will be very expensive, and vacations will be unaffordable. Okay? All right. This is the internet, guys. Now, you don't know this. You think that the internet is that you go on the computer and then boom, the internet is there. No, actually, the internet is undersea cables that connect the entire world. And unfortunately, there's a war going on right here, guys. And unfortunately, it's really easy for Iran to cut off the undersea cables, which would lead to internet disruption for maybe 20-30% of the world. Okay? Africa, Northern Africa, India, the Middle East, maybe parts of Europe will lose internet access. You think, okay, well that's fine. They just won't watch Netflix anymore. No, guys, okay? The entire global economy is based off the cloud. So if you want to bank, if you want basically finance, okay? This has a huge impact in the world, and this can happen any time. Where, for whatever reason, there's a war going on in the Strait of Hormuz, some cables get cut off, and then suddenly you've lost internet access. And this would basically cause major disruptions throughout the world. All right. Okay. So one thing that you notice about this world is the sheer amount of population growth, where after World War II, because of Pax Americana, you see a massive boom in population. And unfortunately, this is not sustainable. It is not possible for the planet to sustain 8 billion people, many of whom want to fly around the world every twice a year, who want to drive an SUV, who want to have food, who want to have avocados every single day. They want to have like cherries every single day, okay? So this population growth is not sustainable. And basically what happens is this: when you are too off balance, when there's a correction, the correction is pretty extreme, okay? So this chart by itself, the fact that we have so many people, means like if there's a crisis, the population will see a massive shrinkage, okay? You're like, okay, how? And the answer is food scarcity. Food is today pretty common, but food is based on global trade, okay? So let me show you what I mean by this. Right, so the yellow, okay, are places that need fertilizer to grow food, meaning their land is not good for farming, so they need fertilizer to grow food. They also have a large population. And as you can see, a lot of this is based in Africa and maybe Central Asia and parts of South America. Ammonia is a chemical produced from oil, petroleum, that is fundamental for fertilizers. And as you can see, this is mainly in the north of the world. What allows for 8 billion people is the fact that the north is able to export fertilizer to the south. And that's it, guys. You understand? If this were to stop for whatever reason, people in the south would be in a lot of trouble, right? So as you can see, this trade in fertilizer is what sustains a global population of 8 billion people. Again, if there's a disruption to this trade, the people in the south are in a lot of trouble. All right. So, if you're in the green, you're okay? But if you are in the red, you are in a lot of trouble, okay? You are in a lot of trouble if you are in the red. But honestly, if you are not in the green, you can still be in a lot of trouble, because again, what we're looking for is resilience. The idea of efficiency is, let's imagine the best case scenario and try to make as much money out of it as possible, okay? The idea of resilience is, let's imagine the worst case scenario and see if we can survive it. Basically, if you have food security issues, you are facing a massive problem, okay? Because yeah, we're imagining the worst case scenario. And again, I hate to say this, but if you're not in the green, you should be worried right now, okay? And where's China? Not in the green, guys, okay? It's something that national leaders in the world have to start thinking about right now. Food scarcity. All right, water. Again, the countries that suffer from food scarcity, some of them also suffer from food scarcity, okay? Sorry, from water scarcity. Okay, I might forget this. All right, okay, so basically this area is not trouble. I would say that water is far more problematic than food. And again, I can say this, but if you are any country here, what's that on there? If you're any country in this area, okay, you should be worried.